I didn't think one conversation could destroy both my project and my relationship. But here we are. I'm still not sure what hurt more. The moment my manager told my partner that my coworker was better suited for the job, or the fact that my partner believed him before she even asked for my side. I didn't see it coming. I didn't even know they'd been talking behind my back. All I know is that the night it happened, I stopped feeling like my life belonged to me, and for the first time in years, I felt replaced. Not fired. Replaced. My name's Daniel. I'm 29, senior back-end engineer. I don't brag, but I'm good at my job. Reliable. Structured. The boring guy you want on a sinking project because he doesn't panic. My manager, Trevor, knew that. He'd put me on every critical launch for the past 2 years. But this time, he wanted someone else to shine. And by someone else, I mean Maya. The coworker who showed up 6 months ago with a sharp smile, loud confidence, and an instinctive talent for taking credit for work she barely touched. At first, she was just noise. Bright dresses, louder opinions, and an energy that made half the office think she was brilliant and the rest think she was exhausting. I didn't care either way. I just wanted the project done. But Trevor? Trevor adored her. He'd beam every time she pitched an idea that was basically something I'd said a week earlier. And I played the game, kept my head down, let numbers speak for themselves, met every deadline. But the shift started small. A whispered suggestion during stand-up, a half-joke from Trevor about letting new blood take the wheel, a raised eyebrow when I pushed back on an unrealistic timeline. And then, the night I came home and found out Trevor had gone a step further. My partner, Lily, was sitting at the kitchen table, arms crossed, expression tight in a way I'd never seen aimed at me. "Trevor talked to me today," she said. Just that. No warm-up, no context. My stomach dropped. Managers don't call employees partners, not unless something is seriously wrong. "What did he say?" I asked. She looked away like she was embarrassed. "He said the project is going through a big shift, that Maya is taking on more responsibility because she's better suited for the pressure, more adaptable, more communicative." She paused. "He said you're holding the team back with your rigidity." It took me a second to understand the words, then another second to understand the knife behind them. "You believe that?" She hesitated, a fraction of a second, but enough. "I think Trevor has a point. You do get stuck in your ways sometimes." I just stared at her. Lily, who knew how many nights I'd stayed late, who'd sat with me through 2 product launches when I slept 3 hours a night, who told me that she trusted my discipline more than anything. And now she was quoting Trevor like he was the expert on my personality. I swallowed hard. "Why would he even talk to you about this?" "He said he was worried about you," she whispered. "He said he'd seen your stress building up. He didn't want you burning out again." That was when something inside me went cold. Because I knew what burnout looked like. I'd lived it. And Trevor had never once offered me support. He'd only piled more work on whenever I proved I could handle it. Now suddenly he was the caring mentor, telling my girlfriend I couldn't keep up. I walked away before I said something sharp. She followed, her voice softer. "Dan, maybe sit this one out. Let Maya take lead. It might be good for you. Good for me." That was the phrase that snapped. Over the next few days at work, the pieces fell into place with awful clarity. Trevor started looping Maya into everything, even tasks far outside her skill set. Meetings that should have included me were suddenly small sinks between the two of them. She'd flash me a bright, pitying smile like she was being generous by taking the load. And then the final blow. Trevor quietly reassigned me from lead architect to supporting engineer. No explanation, no meeting, just a calendar update. I saw it an hour before going home. By the time I walked through the door, Lily already knew. Trevor had called her again. Again. "He said he was relieved you're stepping back," she murmured. "He thinks the project will finally move smoothly now." Move smoothly. without me. I sat there on the edge of the bed that night, watching her scroll her phone like it was any normal evening. I realized she wasn't on my side anymore, not because she didn't love me, but because someone else had fed her a story first, loud and confident and convenient, and she didn't question it. I lay awake until morning, listening to her breathing beside me, wondering how many small cracks in trust a relationship can survive before the whole thing collapses under its own quiet weight. I didn't know it then, but this was only the first fracture. The real break was coming, and it would make this feel like a warm-up. By Monday morning, the shift wasn't subtle anymore. It was official. I walked into the project war room, expecting another long day of fixing Maya's half-finished components. But the seating chart had changed. My chair had been moved to the corner. Hers was dead center, right beside Trevor, like she was being positioned for a coronation. Trevor clapped his hands once. All right, everyone. Maya's leading architecture for the next sprint. Daniel will support wherever she needs. Support? I'd gone from directing the entire back-end structure to being an extra pair of hands. Maya smiled like she'd just won an award she never applied for. Thanks, Trevor. I'll try to fill the big shoes. She looked at me. Daniel, can you run through your latest logs with me later? There were some inconsistencies. There were no inconsistencies. She just wanted to make sure everyone heard her imply it. I kept my voice even. Sure, I'll walk you through the parts you haven't seen yet. Trevor forced a laugh. Daniel, tone. We're collaborating, not competing. I felt something tighten behind my ribs. That slow-burn frustration that doesn't explode, just corrodes. The meeting dragged on, with Maya presenting slides built almost entirely from my work. Lines of code I wrote, architecture decisions I made. She'd just changed the font, slapped on bright colors, and delivered it like a TED Talk. Every time she said my plan, I felt the room tilt, and Trevor watched her like he was discovering fire. When the meeting ended, I grabbed my laptop and stepped outside for air. Before I even opened the door, I heard Trevor's voice behind me. Hold on, Daniel. He approached slowly, hands in his pockets like this was a friendly chat. I hope you're not taking the reassignment personally. I am, I said plainly. He exhaled. You've been tense. And Maya brings a lot of energy to the team. People respond to that. I bring results. Sure. But communication matters too. Translation, you don't perform for him the way she does. Look, he continued, Maya mentioned that you were a bit short with her last week. She feels like you don't trust her. I stared at him. Tell her to show up with something that actually compiles. His jaw tightened. Attitude like that is exactly why Lily and I... He stopped, and my blood ran cold. You and Lily what? He blinked like he'd forgotten he wasn't supposed to say that out loud. We spoke. I told her you need a lighter workload. She agreed. The hallway went silent around us. I felt my heartbeat in my ears. You're consulting my partner about my work performance? Not consulting. He lifted his palms. Checking in. She cares about you. I care about you. We want to make sure you're not overwhelmed. Overwhelmed? I'd never been overwhelmed in my life. I'd only ever been overloaded, usually by Trevor himself. His phone buzzed, and he stepped away, leaving me in the hall with the echo of something I couldn't unhear. When I got home that night, Lily was at the stove. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Trevor told me you two talked. I set my bag down. What exactly is he telling you? She turned off the burner. He said you've been resistant to change, that maybe it's time to let someone else take the lead so you're not carrying the whole team. That's not what this is. Then what is it? She challenged softly. It's politics. He wants Maya in the spotlight, and he's using you to pressure me. She crossed her arms. Dan, he isn't manipulating me. He's worried about you, about the project, about how rigid things have gotten. Rigid, overwhelmed, holding back the team. It was like listening to a script written by someone who'd never met me. I sat down slowly. Since when did you two become close enough for him to share this with you? He reached out after the work dinner last month, she said. You were quiet that night, and he thought something was wrong? I closed my eyes. The work dinner, the one where I spent 2 hours debugging a deployment on my phone, because Trevor refused to push back the release date. I was quiet because I was holding the team together by duct tape. Lily's voice softened. Dan, maybe this is good for you. Maybe you need to step back and let Maya take credit for everything. Let Trevor rewrite reality. She didn't answer. Something cracked then, not loudly, not dramatically, just a soft internal snap, the kind you don't feel until the structure shifts. At work the next day, it got worse. During stand-up, Maya announced, "I'll be revising Daniel's API approach. It doesn't match the speed we need." I lifted my head. "I wrote that API according to your own specifications." She laughed lightly. "Sure, but specs evolve. You know how it is." Trevor chimed in. "Let Maya make the call." The team went quiet. I felt their eyes, some sympathetic, some confused, some relieved it wasn't them. After stand-up, one of the junior devs pulled me aside. "Dude, are you okay? This looks messed up." I opened my mouth to answer, but Maya appeared behind him. "Daniel," she said with a bright, fake warmth, "I need you to redo the service layer integration again." "Why?" I asked. "Because the story changed. It changed 5 times this week?" She tilted her head as if pitying a slow student. "Then adapt." For a moment I saw Lily in her expression, not the woman I loved, but the woman who had started echoing someone else's judgments about me. And that was when the irritation sharpened into something colder. That night, Lily was on the couch, texting. She didn't look up as I walked in. "Trevor thinks you should apologize to Maya," she said without context. My chest tightened. "For what?" "For making her feel dismissed. She's just trying to help." I didn't sit down. "You're choosing her side because Trevor told you to." She finally looked up, offended. "I'm choosing the side that makes sense." I stood there in the doorway, watching the person I trusted look at me like a problem to fix. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. But inside, something fundamental shifted. They thought they could corner me. They thought I would keep absorbing blow after blow just to keep the peace. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They were wrong, and none of them, not Trevor, not Maya, not even Lily, had any idea what was about to hit them. Trevor always said that pressure reveals the real engineers. Turns out he was right, just not about me. The breaking point started on a Thursday morning, the kind of morning where something in the air already feels off. I walked in expecting another day of carrying Maya's workload while she collected compliments for it. But the office was strangely quiet. People were grouped together in little circles whispering. Screens lit up with the same notification. A production alert, critical. Back-end service down. Customer impact, high. My stomach dropped. That service was one of the components Maya insisted on rewriting for efficiency. The one she'd pushed live without a full review. The one she claimed worked on her machine. I logged in. Error logs flooded the console. Null pointers where there should have been validation. Database calls that bypassed authentication entirely. A loop that ate memory like a wildfire. This wasn't a mistake. It was negligence, paired with confidence and wrapped in Trevor's approval. Trevor rushed in 10 minutes later, face pale. "Daniel, start drafting a rollback. Maya, gather your notes. We need to understand why." "She deleted the notes," I said before I could stop myself. Heads turned. Trevor blinked. "She what?" "She deleted all previous versioning documentation last week. Said she wanted a clean slate." Maya's jaw tightened. That was an internal cleanup. And Daniel should have told me the legacy code had hidden dependencies. I stared at her. "You didn't ask for a dependency list." "I shouldn't have to," she snapped. "You should have given it to me." Something about the way she said it, like she genuinely believed it, made me realize how far gone she was. Trevor jumped in. Okay, this is fixable. Daniel, just..." "No." The word came out quiet, flat, Final. The room went still. Trevor frowned. What do you mean, no? I mean, I'm not cleaning this up alone. I didn't approve this deployment. I didn't write this code. And I'm not taking responsibility for it. Maya scoffed. No one's blaming you. Yes, I cut in. You are. You've been blaming me for your shortcuts for weeks. Trevor stepped closer. Daniel, this isn't the time for ego. Ego? I laughed once. Trevor, you reassigned me so she could take credit for work she didn't understand. You talked to my partner behind my back. You told her I was the weak link, so she'd pressure me into compliance. And now you want me to play janitor. He froze. Everyone stared at him, and for the first time, he didn't have a prepared answer. I turned to my computer and projected my screen onto the conference monitor. Here. These are the comments. These are the timestamps. These are the warnings I flagged. These are the Slack messages Maya ignored. These are the builds she bypassed. And this, I pulled up the finalized deployment script, is the part where she removed the safety checks. A heavy silence dropped over the room like a curtain. One of the senior engineers exhaled. Jesus. Another whispered, that's grounds for... that's bad. Maya stepped back, face suddenly drained. Trevor, say something. But Trevor didn't speak because the door opened, and our director walked in. Not the department manager, not HR, the director. The room straightened instantly. He pointed at me. I need a summary. I gave it to him. Sharp, clean, factual. No drama, just truth, lined up in order. Then he turned to Maya. Is this accurate? She opened her mouth, closed, tried again. I was following Trevor's guidance. That was her mistake. The director's eyes shifted. Trevor? Trevor swallowed. I may have given her too much autonomy. Autonomy. That word would follow him for months. The director didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. Both of you. My office. Now. They left. The door shut behind them. The room stayed frozen until someone murmured, Holy hell, Daniel. But I didn't feel victorious. Not yet. Just strangely calm. The kind of calm that comes after weeks of holding your breath and finally exhaling. I spent the next hour stabilizing the system with 2 senior engineers. And for once, nobody questioned me. Nobody overrode me. Nobody doubted me. Because when chaos hits, people stop listening to charisma and look for competence. Late that afternoon, Lily texted. Did something happen at work? Trevor seems upset. I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, Daniel, can we talk when you get home? I locked my phone, because I knew something now, something clean and simple. When someone chooses the wrong side long enough, you eventually stop giving them access to the story. At 5:30, I was called upstairs. The director sat behind his desk, hands folded. Trevor was pale. Maya looked like she'd been crying. The director nodded at me. Daniel, as of today, Trevor is removed from project oversight, effective immediately. Trevor flinched. Maya, the director continued, you will transition to a non-critical role while we evaluate your performance. She opened her mouth. He raised a hand. She closed it. Then he turned back to me. I need someone competent to take over architecture. Someone steady. Someone who documents everything and doesn't play politics. I stood very still. Daniel, he said, you're the new technical lead. Maya stared at me like she couldn't process it. Trevor looked away, jaw clenched in humiliation. But I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I didn't even blink. Because inside, something sharp and quiet settled into place. For weeks they'd pushed me aside, talked about me, worked around me, treated me like a burden. And now? Now they were standing in front of the consequences they built with their own hands. As I left the office, sunlight spilling through the blinds, one thought anchored itself in the center of my chest with a weight that felt almost peaceful. They thought I was done, but I was just getting started. People think revenge feels like fire. Turns out it feels more like quiet. The day after the meltdown, the office had the atmosphere of a shaken snow globe. The chaos had settled, but everyone was still waiting to see where the last flakes would land. Trevor kept to himself in a glass conference room, filling out forms he used to assign to others. Maya sat at a side desk, mechanically typing, shoulders curved inward. Nobody looked at them directly. Nobody had to. The message was written across the entire floor. For the first time in weeks, I sat at my own desk, opened my laptop, and didn't feel tension in my chest. The leadership badge had already appeared on my profile. My inbox was full of congratulations, cautious, understated, but real. Engineers asked me for direction. People actually listened. There were no smirks, no overwritten decisions, no whispered consultations with someone's favorite novice. And the project, it moved, cleanly, predictably, rationally. I documented everything, redistributed tasks based on skill, held a 10-minute morning sync instead of Trevor's hour-long theater, and within 48 hours, the service was stable. 3 days later, the director forwarded a client message praising our turnaround. A week after that, we were on track again. Ahead of schedule this time. That should have been the end. Professional closure. Done. It wasn't, because the personal fallout was waiting at home. When I walked through the door that Friday evening, Lily was sitting on the couch, hands folded, phone face down, posture stiff. She looked like someone rehearsing an apology in her head and not sure where to start. "Trevor called me," she said the moment I closed the door. "Of course he did. He said you humiliated him. He said you were acting out of spite, that he lied," I said. "Again." She swallowed. I told him not to call me any more. It was the first thing she'd said in weeks that didn't feel like it came from someone else's mouth. She stood slowly, like she was approaching a fragile object. "Dan, I didn't know. About the code, the ignored warnings, the shortcuts. He made it sound like you were just refusing to adapt." "I know what he made it sound like. I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have trusted you. I should have asked. I should have been on your side." The thing about apologies is this. They're only comforting when the damage is young, when the cracks are small, when trust is still repairable. But when you've spent weeks watching someone believe another person's voice over yours, something changes. I sat down across from her. "Lily, it wasn't just that you believed Trevor. It's that you didn't even ask me. You made decisions about me without me." She blinked fast, eyes glossy. I know. And every time he called you, every time he nudged you, you let him. You let him rewrite who I was to you." "That wasn't my intent," she said, voice cracking. "I know it wasn't," I said softly. "But it was the outcome." She covered her mouth with her hand. "I want to fix this." I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel anger or confusion or hurt. I felt clarity. Simple, weightless clarity. "There's nothing to fix," I said. "Just something to end." Her hand dropped. "Dan, please." But I wasn't pleading. I wasn't fighting. I wasn't negotiating. I was finished. "We're not breaking up because you doubted me," I said. "We're ending this because the moment someone else told you I was the problem, you didn't hesitate. And if that can happen once, it can happen again." She sank onto the couch, tears slipping down her cheeks, but no sound came. It was the quiet kind of crying, the kind people do when the truth lands and reshapes the world around them. I didn't reach for her, not because I wanted her to hurt, but because I'd spent too long being the only one reaching. She nodded after a long moment, not in agreement, in acceptance, the kind that comes when resistance no longer makes sense. "I'll stay with my sister for a while," she whispered. "That's best." She packed a small bag. I helped her find her charger. She paused at the doorway, looking at me like she was memorizing something. Maybe she was. Maybe I was too. The door clicked shut, and the apartment breathed for the first time in weeks. The next few days felt strangely balanced. Work was smooth. The team was steady. There was no Trevor shadowing decisions, no Maya rewriting responsibilities, no second voice influencing my name at home. I woke up, made coffee, answered messages that actually belonged to me. I walked into the office and people didn't flinch or perform. They collaborated. On Wednesday, during final review, the director stopped by my desk. "You cleaned this up well," he said. "Project delivery looks solid." "It will be," I replied. "You ever think about moving into full management?" I smiled lightly. "Not my tempo. I'm better where I am." He nodded. "Then stay exactly where you're doing the most good." When he left, I looked around at the team, at the quiet competence, the stability returning, and felt a calm I hadn't felt in months. The project launched 2 weeks later without a single incident. On launch day, I left the office early, not to celebrate, just to enjoy the freedom. I walked home, grabbed takeout from a place I used to love before late nights stole the habit, and ate it on my balcony while the city hummed below. Around 8, my phone buzzed. A message from Lily. "Just wanted you to know. I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry. For everything." I read it once, then deleted it. Not out of spite, out of closure. Some messages don't need answers. Some doors don't need reopening. Some chapters end cleanly when you let them. The air was warm. The lights below looked steady. My chest felt empty in a good way, like a room finally cleared of clutter. This wasn't triumph. This wasn't victory. It was peace. And peace is the quiet that arrives when you stop defending what was never meant to be held alone. I leaned back in my chair, listening to the soft noise of the street, and realized something simple. They'd tried to replace me, at work, in my own relationship. And instead, I'd replaced the version of myself that tolerated it. Nothing was missing, nothing undone, no questions left, just a life that fit me again.